people that are just joining us are probably wondering who we are and why we're doing this. So I thought we'd just talk a little bit about being a youth ministry group here at St. Joan of Arc, and we're a high school youth ministry group. We're interested in doing this theology of the body for teens, and want to kind of go through the program and talk about what it is and what's going on. So that's what this is right now. We have 4 of the teens here that are part of the group, and then Carrie's here and I'm here, I'm Mike, and we are going to meet each week and go through different parts of the theology of the body for teens and discuss some of the different questions and things that are in it. The other thing is that the teens may change. We may have different teens each time, so we're trying to get at least 4, hopefully guys and ladies. So this is our first group that's willing to start this with us, and that's what we're doing. So that's what this is. So our next thing is the theology of the body.
Okay.
So
you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah. I'm Maggie. What do I?
just like what year are you in school?
I'm a junior at Olentangy Liberty High School.
Okay.
I'm Anna. I will be a senior at Worthington Kilbourne High School.
I'm Kaylee. I'm 17. I'm going to be a senior at Orange High School.
I'm Josh. I'm a senior at Bishop Larson High School.
I'm Mike. I'm just a senior. And Carrie.
I'm Carrie. I'm senior associate.
Good deal. That's a good way to put it. Okay, good. Yeah, because people that might want to watch this or listen in or whatever might ask, like, well, is it relevant to me? It's really relevant to all of our ages and, and to the whole thing. So, okay, so the question is, what is the theology of the body? And we just want to get the direct. Go ahead, you can ask it. What is the theology of the body? And then, but no, it's okay.
What is the theology of the body?
I guess I'll answer that one. Back in 1979, Pope John Paul II dedicated 129 of his Wednesday audiences, which are like talks that he does, to the human body and sexuality, and these talks were compiled into a book and named The Theology of the Body. So it's just what the Pope talked about these during his Wednesday audiences.
Yeah, probably the most important thing about that is just that it's we're trying to make sure people understand that it is a teaching that the Catholic Church has, one of the first teachings of John Paul II and in his pontificate. So that makes it cool because it's not just like my opinion or Carrie's opinion or your parents' opinion or some guy that wrote the book or whatever. It's John Paul II who has that right to teach as being part of the magisterium.
So if you think about it too, when we hear theology of the body, it is the learning about God and how He designed our bodies, how they are supposed to be. So as we're also talking about the theology of the body for teens, what we've done is basically taken the curriculum and focused on chastity and vocation. So it's taking the whole curriculum and all the different things that Blessed John Paul was talking about, and really focusing on those 2 issues, so that you can apply it to your lives as teens and really live it on a daily level, and what your daily expectations are and how to live with the theology of the body in your life.
So now that we've kind of broke the ice and what we need to do and why we're doing what we're doing and all that stuff, this is the better part, I think, of the program here, is like, why this program and why are we doing it now? That's really what we're looking at, because as a director of youth ministry for the parish, it's like I notice with teens, they're being inundated daily by all kinds of stuff that gives the wrong message. And at least, Carrie, when you and I were younger, and I was younger a lot longer than you were, but we knew right from wrong, we were taught right from wrong by society as well as like our parents and such. So it wasn't just, we were out there floundering around or whatever. Now, because the way society is, what's on TV, what's on the internet, what people hear in songs, what they read in books, there's no right and wrong anymore. And so what was clearly presented as right and wrong when we were younger is just sort of a gray area now for everybody. So it's important to me as a director of youth ministry to at least be paying attention to this and to at least put the word out there and to find the good resources and sources of teaching like this from John Paul II to put out there what would be God's plan and God's thought for these people as their generation comes up behind our generations and answers their own questions. But without that, if we don't have that, it's going to be very confusing because there's no moral moorings. There's nothing to hang on to, nothing to tie you down and understand what the teaching's about. So,
And that's how I see this program too, is it's like a moral compass. It'll show you the right direction, because right now, you know, with society and what we've talked about, it's almost like you're up against, you're a ship at sea up against a great storm, and you're just trying to navigate yourself, and the waters are murky, and you really can't see where you're going. So I like this program because Jason Everett, and Jason and Kristalina Everett wrote this, and they are awesome. If you've ever heard them speak and watch some of their videos when they talk about purity and chastity. They take what's such high level content that Blessed John Paul wrote for us, and they put it in simplified terms so that even I can read it and understand it. So I know you guys can read it and understand it.
Yeah, our society has become a lot like a bunch of frogs and a pot of rice.
It seems weird. but it's
Frogs
not.
in pot?
Okay, in a pot of water that's rising slowly, because it's like the frog in the pot scenario that we talked about. If a frog is put in boiling water, it will immediately jump out. But if it's put in room temperature water that slowly rises, it won't notice the danger that it's in.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
until it's cooked.
I never
Yeah.
thought about that.
And then it'll eventually die without even realizing that the water was rising. So that's kind of our society with like music and TV shows and whatnot. Like the explicit sexual content is becoming more and more without people even really realizing. So yeah.
Yeah, and when we were younger, I keep saying that because we sound like, oh,
in
people.
our day.
Yeah, but it was the idea is that it's been turned up slowly. Over the last 30 years, you see all the morals kind of falling away and all the teachings falling away, and what used to be considered like kind of taboo or evil or just out of order, maybe would be a better way to put it, has just been accepted as normal now. And so the heat's been turned up really slowly on society, where society didn't even notice. People our age maybe not even realize that their kids aren't getting this teaching anymore, because we used to get it at home, and we got it at school, and we got it on TV, and we got it on the radio, and we got it in books and all that other stuff. It was always reinforced everywhere by society in general, and now it's not anymore. So the frog's boiling, if it's not boiled already, and only people like us that have had the experience of seeing it change over the 30 years can look back on it and see that. If you've got a new wave of a new generation like the teenagers today, they didn't even have those first teachings to know that it was that far off course. So that's why it's so important to kind of be getting back to this. So I want to go over maybe some of the examples with you guys, and maybe you can come up with some examples of things that you've seen on TV or whatever, or that you've heard in songs, or you've seen on the internet or whatever, books, what have you. And just kind of, stuff that you might consider to be out of order with God's plan for the body, basically, and sexuality.
Well, what kind of shows do you guys watch? Because I noticed last night I was just trying to sit down and watch a show with my 12-year-old, and I turned on something, or she turned on something that seemed to be that canned laughter, supposedly funny show. And it was just about two working girls. One was a rich girl, one was not, and one was working. And everything seemed very kind of innocent, I would say, just in that it was kind of dumb, the way that they were portraying different things, and nothing significant. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, they have this scene where they go into the restaurant that they were working, and the chef comes out with 2 fur coats on, and they said, well, why are you wearing 2 fur coats? And he said, well, it's for the same reason why I wear 2 condoms. And because I don't want one to break, or if one breaks, or something along those lines. But my point was, I was sitting there with my 12-year-old, and I was really mortified, because she shouldn't be listening to that. She shouldn't have known what that was at 12 years old. So I didn't know whether to jump off the couch and and change the channel, or I don't know. I think I yelled, turn this off, and rewatched it anyways, but through the time, because I kind of also didn't want to make a big deal out of it in case it went over her head. So, it's a really hard, I find a conflict as a mom to if you make a big deal out of something and they weren't aware of what just happened, then you're kind of putting something in their minds.
Start asking questions.
They start asking questions that they're not ready for. So that's where, we really, as a family, I'm really trying to just, not put the TV on at night, because there's just seems to be nothing appropriate out there.
I watch a show called Awkward, and it's about a girl who, had, just casual sex with this boy. She fell in love with him, and he fell in love with her. And then, she's dating his best friend now. And so, in order to see who she, likes more, she, wants to have sex with both of them. And she's literally, 15.
Yeah. She's
And I'm
younger than us.
I don't do that, so...
And it just puts that expectation out there that that's what
It's like
15-year-olds
that.
are doing. That's how you figure out if a boy really likes you, or if
Yeah.
you really like a boy. And it's just, it's really, I say that our conscience, when people say you need to listen to your conscience. Well, I don't even know, do we even know what our conscience says? Because we have society telling us one thing, we have our parents telling us other things. I know my kids maybe tune me out half the times, and I'm trying to tell them things. So I think that there's a fine line, unless we really take ownership and want to go out and search these things for ourselves, is what is our purpose? Why were we created? And there's got to be a better purpose than just, selling ourselves short in the world. Unless you're really searching out those answers, you're really probably going to go with the flow, unless you take a stance and start out looking in that direction.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's like last night we were talking how we are a bunch of sheep and the Lord is our shepherd. But if people don't recognize the Lord as their shepherd, then they're going to turn to things like the media and what society is telling them, and that's going to be their shepherd, and they're going to follow what they're telling without knowing that there's something better, which is the Lord. So.
I was having a conversation with my friend, and he I don't know how it came up, I don't remember, but he was like, so how far have you gone with a guy? And I was like, I haven't done anything. And he's like, why not? And it was like, because I have morals and I don't want to. And he was like, well, I hate to break it to you, but not a lot of people are looking for that since it's summer. And I was like, wow, you really are just
Wow.
going along with everyone else by saying that. And it's just okay, well, I respect myself too much to do that. And even if every single show Snooki and Jay Wow, they talk about sex and because Snooki's pregnant and stuff, and then Awkward's about sex, and then the movies, I don't think I've seen a movie that doesn't have
Right.
something to do with sex or sex tiebreakers or whatever. So it when he said that, I was like, wow, that's what everyone expects. And then I at work I hear about the hookups that people have been hooking up with and everything, and I'm like, well, I have no stories because I don't do that. And so it's just and that's what everyone expects you to do, so they just think that you have experiences with it, but I just don't. So it's weird how much the media and this stuff can have a reaction.
It's almost like people find it odder when you haven't been kissed or haven't done anything with a guy than they do if you've gone and had sex with 5 guys. It shouldn't be that way, but I mean, I get reactions because I haven't been kissed, haven't dated a guy, and I'm perfectly okay with that. But my friends are really? You're a senior in high school, shouldn't you have done that already? And I mean, it's just crazy to think that I'm weird because I'm saving myself and I'm waiting until I'm completely ready to do something with someone I love, instead of going out every weekend and drinking and partying and having sex that won't mean anything and will cause me so much sadness and depression in the long run. And I look at them this isn't how it's supposed to be. Sex is for love and for marriage and not just something to do.
Yeah, it seems if you don't have sex, then you're the odd one out.
Yeah.
But if you have sex, people are gonna call you a slut or something that's like mean and it's like degrading towards you. But then if like, oh, you haven't had your first kiss, oh, you haven't like had sex with your boyfriend yet, oh, you're a prude and we don't want to talk to you
Yeah.
because you haven't done anything and you're just like too scared and all this stuff and you're a God freak and everything. And it's like, sorry, I respect myself more than you respect you. So,
Yeah.
so.
We're constantly bombarded with this idea that like sex is like all like glamorous, or that it's just something that you need to get over with and stuff, and that's just like not what it is. And people don't even realize when they're like listening to the music that they listen to or watching the stuff on TV that they watch, that it's like putting these thoughts in their mind that they might not have had previous to listening to it and stuff.
You know, I wanted to ask Josh, because I could give my opinion, but, you know, I'm an older guy and married and all that kind of stuff, but coming from a teenage male point of view, you know, what the ladies here are saying and all, does that make sense? Do you kind of see that kind of thing going on as well?
All the time, and from everyone. It's surprised me multiple times how some people regard casual sex, and good people,
Mhm.
you know, that's the
Yeah,
only
yeah.
thing that I don't approve of with them. And it's just a sign that society is going downhill.
You know, as like a teenage guy, you know, hearing these ladies talk about it, it's like, are they, you know, speaking for teenage guys, it's kind of cool that they're not jumping in bed with everybody and they're not having all these experiences and everything like that. That I think society keeps pushing in the movies and the books and on the internet and everything else that, oh, like they were saying, it's normal to be doing this, but you know, you can see that it's not necessarily, and there's a respect factor there. You know, you can respect these three women as opposed to, you know, the person that's indulging in everything, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess this is a good time to ask the question, what is the theology of the body for teens?
That's a good question. It's a little bit different than the regular theology of the body, because this particular program is going to focus in a little bit more on vocations, as well as the proper use of sexuality. So when we say vocations, I think a lot of people freak out and think that means necessarily religious vocation. You hear the word vocation, you think, okay, priest, nun, brother, or sister, that kind of thing. But really, vocation is just the call, you know, like vocal, the word vocal. It's the call of God. What did God call you to do? What is God calling you to do? Why did He make you? You know, and that's where John Paul II comes in. That these are the deeper questions. These are the things that really keep people up late at night when they're thinking about who am I? Why am I here? What was I made for? You know, and the way John Paul II talks about it, those things that God is calling you to are the things that will make you the happiest. You know, Scripture says that God gives you the desires of your heart. So God created you. He made you with all of the things that are in you. All your wants and desires and such are in you from God. And there's a goodness to that. They're there for a reason to lead you to Him. You know, to understand that He's the ultimate goal that you're searching for, and that He is the love that you want. But you find all that in this life, you know, through senses and such. So we have bodies, God's given us bodies and souls, and we're going through finding out what is the proper use of our bodies to understand what love's all about. So theology of the body for teens is kind of revealing a little bit of the vocation God has for you, whether it's a vocation to be a married person, to be a mother, to be a father, to be a single person for Christ, to be a religious person, maybe a priest or a nun, you know, whatever that vocation is, but to know that just like a square peg in a round hole kind of thing, God gave you those dimensions and those things about yourself that will make you as happy as you can be. Following what God's plan for you is going to make you the most fulfilled, most happy person that you can be, as opposed to what society is saying to you about, well, go out and do all these other things, and then, hey, you know, get God right before you die if you're lucky, kind of thing, you know, if they even say that. So theology of the body for the teens is going to be focusing on the proper use of the body to find out God's call for you, as well as understand a little bit better about what that call is that you have and how you can properly answer it.
So why did you choose this program, and why did you choose to like implement it like now?
Well, I think we kind of basically picked it because we just felt that not too many teenagers were being given those moral teachings. And the church Obviously, God gave it to us through John Paul II, and so there's a whole point of it being out there at this point in time. God generally gives things to the church through the popes or through different saints or whatever when they're needed. So for years and years and years, there was a moral code. There was an idea of right and wrong. And as the world has kind of slipped away from that and the heat's been turned up on the frog in the pot and everything, God's given us a real saint in John Paul II and some real good teaching in it to understand what he wants us to understand about our lives and our bodies and our sexuality. So the reason now is because it was given to us by a great pope, and you can see all of the problems in society that we're experiencing from not having the proper understanding of the body and the proper understanding of what God's plan for us is. So what better time than when the problem exists, to get out there and say something about it.
And he also had a love for the youth.
Yeah, he was a youth
Yeah,
minister.
he was a youth minister. He loved the teens. So I think it was very profound that he felt that it was so important to speak, to the youth, because you are the next generation. You are the ones that are going to go and plant these seeds and teach this to your children and your grandchildren, and and hopefully it'll be a new revolution that we'll have, and that'll be the right way. It'll get people back on the right track of why we were created, and it'll make a difference. You guys have that power to make a difference.
So just in your own, lives that you've experienced, we're talking a little bit about some of the problems that are caused by a misunderstanding of the body and a misunderstanding of sexuality. Without, you don't have to name names or anything, but are you seeing in your schools and stuff people that are saying, well, the body's just for pleasure and having fun, and like you said,
Yeah.
sleeping around, or you hear someone's got a sexually transmitted disease, or someone's pregnant, or the TV shows where they're kind of glorifying teen pregnant, 16 and pregnant or whatever it is, and stuff like that. Is that out there? Is that kind of the
Yeah.
mindset?
I know, one of my best friends, I've known her, forever. I found out, we've been drifting apart, and I found out this year that before she even got into, her junior and senior year, she had multiple pregnancy scares. And I mean, I've known her forever, and, that's one thing I never thought, and it's just, she's a good person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where it opened my eyes a ton. I'm well, if it's happening to her and she's a good, genuine person, who else is going on? And it kind of showed me there's all this out there.
That's a really good point. We should say that from the beginning here on the show, is that, we're not here to, we're not pointing fingers at people and saying, this person's bad, or this, bad's whatever. Love the sinner, hate the sin kind of thing. But, each one of us is broken in our own way. Each one of us has sinned against God. Each one of us has mistakes and failings and shortcomings. It's part of the fallen nature. But, we have to be able to see these things and realize something's right or something's wrong. And this gives us, like Carrie was saying, the moral compass to be able to say, this is God's plan, and if it goes against God's plan, then it's wrong, So when we hear these things, it's like you said, she's a good person, this person you're talking about. There's no doubt about that. And what's nice about theology of the body is that the answers are already there. You already have the answers inside yourself. That's part of God encoding that in your body, to know right from wrong in certain ways. And this program tends to reveal those things to you. Even though you kind of know them, maybe you don't know how to exactly put them in words or whatever. So you've got this person who's a good person who's just making some bad decisions, And what people find is those bad decisions lead to sadness or despair, or just kind of a hopelessness, or an inability to bond even, There's a great experiment that's out there where you take a piece of gray tape, duct tape or whatever, and you have 20 people in a room or whatever, and you take the tape and you stick it on the person next to you, and they peel it off, and they stick it on the person next to them and peel it off, and so forth, and go around the room. And by the time it gets all the way around the room, it's not sticky anymore, And there's no ability there to bond. And that's kind of like having so many sexual partners, if you follow what society says, that ability to bond isn't there anymore. So by the time you think, well, I don't want to get married until I'm out of college, okay, and now I'm, a junior in high school, so that could be, 5-10 years, depending on what kind of college things you take or whatever. Well, am I going to just put off my sexuality for all that time? So why not just have all these sexual partners, and then when I decide, okay, I finally graduated college or whatever, now I'm going to get married, Well, you may have had 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 or whatever partners, and then by the time you want to get married, you don't have that stickability anymore. There's no, ability to bond with another person because you're so used to giving yourself away to all these other partners that you've had. So that's why society is so wrong in that. It sounds like a wonderful thing. We'll just go share yourself and enjoy yourself for these 10 years or whatever. But your body is going through changes and things that we'll talk about in the series here. That endorphins are being released, and there's things going on chemically in your mind and in your brain and the formation of who you are. That ability to see that other person as my spouse, as the one person God has made for me, goes away when you have too many other partners. If you have any other partners, really, it affects it even a little bit. Not that God can't fix that and make that better, but you don't want to be doing these things that are going to make it harder and harder for you to bond later. And as you don't bond, then you create a family that may not bond. Maybe you don't decide to marry, but you decide to have kids anyway. Or you get married, you have kids, and then you get divorced because that ability to bond isn't so strong. And then your kids grow up without a father or without a mother, and then they perpetuate that too. So it's sort of an attack on the family, by evil, by Satan, to really, make the family dissolve. And that's kind of another thing John Paul II is talking about. That if you get this right and you understand God's plan for your body, you're going to be able to be married and happy and have a secure family, and your children will be raised in the same way. So.
Yeah, I see all the time people like on Facebook and stuff saying that they feel used and stuff because of things that they did with someone and now they're not around and stuff. And that's just one of those problems that come along with using your body and sexuality in the wrong way and doing stuff too early and stuff.
Yeah, it really messes you up, and that's what's so hard is that society keeps making it sound like it's fun and it's good and it's right, and it's harder to go. What do you say about Lecrae saying that thing about going against the grain is harder,
Yeah, he was in his song Rebel. He's saying by smoking and drinking and having casual sex or whatever, that's not actually rebellious because everybody says everybody's doing it. So that's actually not being rebellious against the society. If you want to be rebellious against society, you need to do that by following God and doing the right moral thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So really, I think it's a good first show. We went over on the times and everything, but I wanted to do that because I like the flow of the conversation, the way it was going. But the last question we're kind of going to answer just real quickly, kind of going around, is what do you hope to kind of get out of this as a teenager? Being here, what do you hope to get out of going through this program and reading the Pope's words and kind of getting an understanding? How will you mesh that in life with the other things you're going to be doing? Maybe we just kind of go around the room with you guys and talk about it.
I think why I'm here is I've always had this love of God and for Him, but it hasn't always been easier for me to believe in the logistics of it and in reality. Can I do this? Can I stay celibate until I'm married? Can I save myself? Can I save my love? And I think by reading this and teaching others and talking with my peers, I think that's finding that it can be. It's what I'm looking for when I'm here.
Yeah. Maggie?
I guess I'm here because
I want to hear one of you say because my parents made me come. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, I don't know. I'm big on purity and stuff, and I like talking about it and being modest and stuff because I know that for me, I've thought about actually doing stuff and not waiting, but then at the same time, I made myself go away from that situation because I knew that this is what I tell myself to keep me from doing it. So whenever I'm thinking about maybe having sex before I'm married or something, I think to myself, well, God, Jesus died on the cross for me, I can wait to have sex till I'm married with the one that I love. And if I'm dating someone and they try to pressure me into doing it, then obviously they don't love me enough to wait, because if they really love me, then like I'd be worth it for them to wait for me. So I don't know. That's why I'm here, because I want to learn more
That's a good way to put
about
it.
stuff.
I've heard people say before, Jesus died for me so I can live for him.
Yeah.
That's maybe, that's a great way to put it. So, how about you, Kaylee? Any thoughts on it, just in general?
Well, I guess I'm here just because, like, I've always, like, had conversations with my friends. Like, when we were younger, we used to talk about, like, oh, we're never going to have sex till we're married. And then half those friends have already done that and stuff. And it's, like, it's always been hard for me to explain, like, why you need to be modest and you need to keep these morals and everything. So I feel like this is going to help me to be able to explain it in ways to, like, touch people and get them to, like, understand and stuff.
Yeah, one of the best ways to learn something is to teach it, you know. And so as we learn through the program here, we kind of become more or less experts to help our peers. And each one of you guys has your own sphere of influence. You know, there's certain people that will only listen to you that aren't going to listen to me. They may not even know me or Carrie or whoever. Maybe they don't go to church. And so you may be the only person that God is speaking through to them about these things. So that's a good reason to be here. How about you, Josh? What's in it for you, or what do you think in general?
Well, I've heard all this stuff. I've been in Catholic school all my life, so I've heard all of this already. But I'm hoping being here and helping others hear it and sharing my influence will help other people choose the right choices and follow God.
How about you, Carrie? What's your purpose here? I mean, as a mother, you know, and as an adult, I guess is another way too. You know, just it's got to be different for us than for teens, you know, as parents and such. But what are your thoughts on it?
For me, it's really trying to find the right words, especially for my daughters and for my son too, who's young. But just to try to express the fact that we're each given this treasure. You know, God gives us this treasure, and it's going to be the most incredible treasure on your wedding night to give to somebody else, because that treasure will ultimately lead to a new life eventually, you know. In some cases, you know, 9 months later, who knows. But to know that this is such a beautiful gift and a beautiful treasure, and to really cherish that, and you know, so for me, I want to learn more. I want to know more about. I wish they would have taught this to us. You know, we would have had this when I was growing up, because it would have opened up a whole discussion for me and my friends when I was seeing them go through, you know, difficult times in high school and in college. So I just want to know everything about it, and I think the more I learn about the body, I'm amazed at what an amazing doctor God is. You know, he's a perfect scientist and doctor, chemist, biologist. Like, he figured everything out perfectly so that our bodies work just so perfectly together. So I guess for me to be able to share that and for my children, and to have them value that, but also to express the fact, one thing I do as a mom is, and I tell my kids too, always pray for your spouse, because God knows who your future spouse is out there. If it's the Lord, He's right there too, if that's your vocation. But always pray for your spouse that you both are walking on a path of virtue. And I absolutely believe, you know, the Blessed Mother will guide that, and really take care of the other person too. And you can be assured that someday, you know, you're going to meet up with your spouse, and they will be right there on the same level with you.
Good stuff. All right. Well, I think it was a good first one, you know, for to kind of get the ball rolling on this, and I'm excited about it. I know if anybody's out there on the internet or whatever watching this or listening to it and wants to know more about what we're doing, the program to get is called The Theology of the Body for Teens, and it's put out there by Ascension Press. And there's just a whole slew of great people that have weighed in on this, taking John Paul II's teaching, Pope John Paul II's teaching, and kind of breaking it down to a level that, you know, the average Joe in the pew like myself can understand. But it really does purify and simplify everything so that we can kind of get it down to the level we can talk about, instead of just sort of the highfalutin theology and philosophy that can sometimes be hard to understand or hard to digest. So the people that have taken this apart and put this program together have done a great service for the church, and we hope to kind of keep sharing that in the future here and really have a good program.
Did we hear from Josh? Josh, why are you here? What do you
Oh, yeah,
want out of it?
I explained to help my friends and everyone who me being here would help, just to help them choose the right choices and follow God.
It's gonna be a good time. All right, so we'll be here every week doing this, and if you're out there and you're looking at this and wondering what's going on, read chapter 1, and we'll be back next week. All right? Thanks, guys. Good job. Talk to you later.